I love that. You know, yeah, you're hitting on a lot of topics there, and uh, the one that I think just reminds me the most is sometimes when you're such a strict technology guy, right? Somebody comes along and says, "Well, why are you doing that?" And they say, "That's just the way we've always done it." I mean, like
Yep.
like no, just nobody's bothered to ask, right? Nobody's bothered to say, "Well, why?" So I love that story.
And that's the thing that if I could, that I would beg and ask all of you as you're in those roles, here's what I would say to you. It's not about where you are in the hierarchy. Always behave like it's your organization.
Mhm.
I always joke about if it was the Bank of Lynn, I would always say that if this was the Bank of Lynn, is this how I want to spend these extraordinarily bright resources? And so when the answer for that is no, then I try to figure out, well, what can I have them doing instead? And that is not something that only somebody in a specific place in the hierarchy can ask. If
Mhm.
you're doing something in a role, you gotta find a way and a time to pick your head up to understand I'm doing
Right.
this. Why am I doing this? Is it really having the intended impact on the business? And at least ask the question.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Very important. Love that, Lynn. So guys, feel free to keep on filling up the chat with questions. I'm already seeing a couple there. So Lynn, I want to start going on these questions. Um, but
Perfect.
be, but before we do that, help us out here. How can people find you? How can we support you? How can people stay in touch with you?
So y'all are gonna laugh. The easiest way to find me professionally is on LinkedIn. Just look up Lynn Labrador. Yes, Labrador is is not a suit. That is my actual last name. It
It's
is
not a
a
stage name.
no, it is not. It's a less common Latino last name. It's in Spanish Labrador, but in English Labrador, like the dog. And yes, for those that are curious, one of my dogs is a lab. But you can find me on LinkedIn, Lynn Lynne Labrador.
Okay, great guys. So if you want to stay in touch with Lynn or you want to support her, Lynn Labrador is you can find her on LinkedIn. That's the primary contact way. All right, Lynn. So let's start looking at some of these questions, and feel free to if you're listening to us, feel free to add your question either on Instagram or on YouTube. But Rohan is asking, how does HR analytics help with overall HR policy?